Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going on a journey.
Ooh, a journey.
It is a journey through the history of Stoicism.
Okay.
But not just through,
Dates and names.
exactly, not just dry dates and names. We're going to explore Stoicism through the lives of its most influential figures.
I like that. It's a way to see it not just as
Abstract ideas.
an abstract set of ideas, but as a lived philosophy.
Yes.
And how they can offer us guidance and inspiration for our own lives.
Okay, I love that approach.
Yeah.
Let's dive right in.
Okay.
First stop, ancient Greece. Zeno of Citium,
The OG.
the founder of Stoicism. And what's so interesting is he wasn't some
Ivory Tower.
ivory tower philosopher.
Yeah.
He was a merchant who had a major life change that led him to philosophy.
Yes, he was a successful merchant, trading Tyrian purple dye, a very valuable commodity.
Wow, so valuable.
But then he lost everything in a shipwreck. This event forced him to reassess his priorities
Oh, wow.
and led him to philosophy.
So a shipwreck led to the birth of Stoicism.
Yeah.
That's quite a turning point.
Yeah.
So what drew Zeno to the ideas that would become the foundation of this philosophy?
Well, after the shipwreck, Zeno found himself in Athens,
A hub.
a hub of intellectual activity. And he began studying with various philosophers, including the Cynics,
Okay.
known for their simple living and rejection of material possessions.
Makes sense.
But Zeno eventually developed his own distinct philosophy, which focused on living in accordance with nature
Oh.
and virtue.
This idea of living in accordance with nature, this is a core principle of Stoicism, right?
Yeah.
What did Zeno mean by that? How did it shape his teachings?
So for Zeno, living in accordance with nature meant understanding the rational order of the universe
Okay.
and aligning our actions with that order. He believed that true happiness
True happiness.
came from living virtuously in harmony with the natural flow of things.
That makes sense, but how do we actually apply that to our daily lives? It sounds kind of abstract.
Well, one way to think about it is in terms of acceptance. The Stoics believe that we should accept what we cannot control,
Okay.
focus our energy on what is within our power, our own thoughts, judgments, and actions.
Okay, I can see how that's relevant even today.
Oh, yeah.
We get stressed about things we can't change.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
So Zeno was all about aligning ourselves with the natural order of things
Yes.
and focusing on what we can control. What else can you tell us about his teachings?
Well, he believed that virtue is the sole good.
Okay.
Things like wealth, health, reputation, preferred,
Okay.
but not essential for happiness.
Interesting.
And this idea can be very liberating because it suggests that happiness is attainable regardless of our external circumstances.
That's a pretty radical idea, especially for someone who lost everything in a shipwreck.
Yeah.
Seems like he really walked the walk.
He did, absolutely. And he didn't just teach these ideas in some secluded setting.
Oh, really?
No. He chose to teach in the agora, the bustling marketplace.
Oh, wow. So
The heart of Athens.
taking philosophy
If you're
out
gonna
of the
show-
ivory tower and into the real world. It speaks to the practical nature of Stoicism.
Yes, very much so.
Now let's move on to another key figure in the early days of Stoicism. Cleanthes,
Cleanthes.
who took over the leadership of the Stoic school after Zeno's death.
Yes, he was known for his dedication and his incredibly disciplined lifestyle.
Oh, yeah.
He was a former water carrier, and there are stories about him working all night to support himself
Oh,
and spend his days studying philosophy.
wow. Talk about dedication.
There's even a story that he wrote Zeno's teachings on oyster shells.
What? Why oyster shells?
He can afford parchment. Talk about commitment.
Oh,
He took the idea of simple living to heart.
to heart. And this wasn't just about austerity for its own sake.
Right.
Cleanthes viewed hardships as opportunities
Opportunities for growth.
and virtue.
Yes, he saw physical labor as a way to strengthen his mind and body, preparing him for the challenges of life.
It's easy to view hardship as something to be avoided, but he saw it as a path to self-improvement.
Exactly.
So his own life exemplified this principle,
Yes, he was known for his strength and resilience.
both physically and mentally.
Oh, yes. He saw challenges as opportunities to test and strengthen his Stoic principles.
There's that story about him being accused of not working hard enough, isn't there?
Yes,
He had to defend himself in court against charges of laziness.
he did. And he cleverly used that situation to highlight his work ethic.
Oh, wow.
He called witnesses who testified to his diligence,
Oh, wow.
and he ultimately won the case.
He won.
And he even earned a reward for his effort.
He got a reward for being accused of
I know, right?
not working hard enough.
It's amazing.
So it sounds like Cleanthes wasn't just a philosopher. He was also a pretty savvy strategist.
He was.
He knew how to use logic and reason to navigate challenging situations.
That's a core tenet of Stoicism.
Absolutely. And beyond his practical skills.
Who's also known for his
His sharp wit,
and humor.
which he often used to make philosophical points more accessible
Yes.
and engaging.
More fun.
So we're seeing a pattern here, aren't we?
I think so.
Both Zeno and Cleanthes lived their philosophy, demonstrating the practical applications of Stoicism in their everyday lives.
Yes, and I think that's a key takeaway from these early figures.
Okay.
Stoicism wasn't just an intellectual exercise.
Right.
It was a way of life, a guide for navigating the challenges and opportunities of human existence.
Okay.
It was a way to live.
Let's move on to another major figure in Stoicism,
Okay.
one who played a crucial role in systematizing and developing the philosophy.
Hey, Chris.
Chrysippus, often considered the second founder of Stoicism, known for his prolific writing,
Well, yes.
his rigorous logic,
Very rigorous.
and his dedication to refining and expanding Stoic doctrines.
He did a lot.
He was a former runner. Some say he brought that competitive spirit to the world of philosophy.
I can see that.
He wasn't afraid to engage in debates and challenge other schools of thought.
He liked to argue.
It seems like Chrysippus was really passionate about Stoicism and its potential to benefit humanity.
Oh, absolutely.
His contributions were immense.
They were-
He wrote extensively on logic, physics, ethics, and epistemology, developing a comprehensive and systematic framework.
For Stoic thought.
He also defended Stoicism against criticism from other schools of thought.
There was a lot of that going around.
Really?
Yeah.
Solidifying its place in the intellectual landscape of the ancient world.
He did.
So we've gone from Zeno, the
Yeah.
founder,
Yeah.
to Cleanthes, the disciplined practitioner,
Yeah.
to Chrysippus, the systematizer. Each of these figures contributed to the development of Stoicism in a unique way.
For sure.
What stands out to you about Chrysippus and his legacy?
I think what's fascinating about him is that he combined rigorous logic with a deep appreciation for literature and poetry.
Interesting.
He often quoted poets and playwrights in his philosophical works,
Oh, wow.
demonstrating that Stoicism wasn't just about cold, hard reason, but also recognized the power of human emotion and artistic expression.
That's a really interesting point.
It is.
It challenges that stereotype of Stoicism as being overly austere
Yes,
or emotionless.
that's right.
Seems like there's more nuance and complexity
Much more.
than we might realize.
Absolutely.
Exploring the lives of these Stoic figures helps us appreciate that nuance and complexity.
I agree.
And we see how they applied these principles to their own lives, how they struggled,
Yeah.
how they succeeded,
God, they failed.
how they made mistakes,
That they learned.
and how they ultimately found meaning and purpose in a world full of challenges.
That's right.
Now, our deep dive takes us from the intellectual ferment of Athens to the heart of the rising Roman Empire.
Okay.
And that's where we encounter a pivotal figure who helped introduce Stoicism to the Roman world.
Who's that?
Diogenes of Babylon,
Ah, Diogenes.
a skilled diplomat and philosopher who played a key role in bridging the gap between Greek Roman culture. He was part of a delegation sent to Rome to appeal a hefty fine imposed on Athens. This mission exposed him to the complexities of Roman politics and society.
It did, yes.
So Stoicism went on a diplomatic mission to Rome. Seems like this was a major turning point for the spread of Stoicism
It was.
beyond the Greek world.
Yes.
What can you tell us about this diplomatic mission and its impact on Diogenes and the future of Stoicism?
Well, the Athenian delegation included not one, but 3 philosophers.
Wow, tricky.
Diogenes, Carneades, and Critolus.
Okay.
They were chosen for their eloquence and their ability to engage in intellectual debate.
That's so interesting that they would send philosophers
I know.
as diplomats.
It shows the influence they had back then, the respect they had.
Totally.
However, their visit to Rome wasn't without controversy.
Ooh, controversy.
Carneades, in particular, caused a stir with his public lectures.
Public lectures. What did he do?
So he gave this brilliant speech praising Roman justice one day.
Oh, wow.
And then he delivered an equally compelling speech arguing against it the next.
Oh my gosh. I can only imagine the reaction in Rome.
It was pretty strong.
That seems like a very bold move, especially given the Romans' historical skepticism towards philosophy.
It was. And some Roman senators, including the influential Cato the Elder,
I know the elder.
were appalled by Carneades' rhetorical flourishes.
Okay.
They saw it as a sign of Greek fickleness and a threat to Roman values.
So did this diplomatic mission backfire? Did the Athenians fail to get the fine reduced?
Surprisingly, no. The fine was reduced.
Oh, wow.
And despite the controversy, the visit of the Athenian philosophers, especially Diogenes, sparked an interest in Greek philosophy among some Romans.
Wow.
It was Stoicism's first significant foray into the Roman world.
That's so fascinating.
It is.
So even though there was some pushback, Diogenes and his fellow philosophers managed to plant the seeds of Stoicism in Roman soil.
They did.
How did this experience shape Diogenes' own philosophical outlook?
Well, being exposed to the complexities of Roman politics and society had a profound impact on Diogenes. He developed a more pragmatic approach.
To Stoicism, recognizing that applying philosophical principles in the real world often requires flexibility and a willingness to compromise.
The world isn't always black and white.
It is not.
There are often shades of gray.
Many shades of gray.
How did this pragmatism manifest in Diogenes' teachings?
So one example is his view on business ethics.
Okay.
He debated with his student, Antipater, about the importance of full disclosure in business dealings.
Interesting.
Antipater argued for complete transparency.
Makes sense.
But Diogenes believed that in some cases, full disclosure could be harmful, and that discretion was sometimes necessary.
So he was acknowledging the complexities of real-world situations.
Yes.
And the need to balance ethical principles with practical considerations.
Exactly. Diogenes understood that living virtuously in a complex world often requires making difficult choices.
Yeah.
And that sometimes there are no easy answers.
It's so interesting to see how Diogenes' diplomatic mission to Rome
not only introduced Stoicism to a new audience, but also shaped his own understanding of the philosophy and its application in a different cultural context.
It did.
This highlights a key aspect of Stoicism.
What's that?
Its adaptability.
Yes.
It's not a rigid dogma.
No.
It's a flexible framework for living that can be adapted to different circumstances and cultures.
And different times.
That's a great insight. It means that Stoicism isn't just some ancient philosophy.
No.
It's a set of principles that can be relevant and applicable
to our life
today.
Yes, I think so.
And as we continue exploring the lives of these Stoic figures,
I'm excited.
We'll see how they navigated the challenges of their time and how their wisdom can offer guidance and inspiration for our own lives.
I can't wait.
This is fascinating.
It is.
I'm already learning so much about Stoicism and its evolution. Can't wait to hear more.
Me neither. Welcome back to our exploration of Stoicism through its most influential figures.
It's been amazing to see how their personal stories connect with their teachings.
It really is.
Like Zeno finding his way to philosophy after losing everything in a shipwreck.
I see.
Or Cleanthes proving his work ethic in court with the help of witnesses.
That was a good one.
These aren't just abstract principles. They were woven into the lives of these individuals.
Real people.
And as Stoicism traveled from Greece to Rome, its evolution continued, shaped by the unique challenges and complexities of the Roman world.
It did.
So are we heading to Rome now?
We are.
I'm ready to see how Stoicism took root in the heart of a vast empire.
I think you'll enjoy this.
Okay.
We're going to meet a Stoic figure whose life kind of straddles both worlds.
Okay.
Panatius. Born in Rhodes, steeped in Greek philosophical traditions.
Okay.
But he also became a key figure in introducing and adapting Stoicism to Roman culture.
Okay, so Panatius bridging the gap between Greek thought and Roman pragmatism. Tell me more about him.
So Panatius lived during a time of significant cultural exchange between Greece and Rome.
Makes sense.
He was a student of Diogenes of Babylon.
The
Stoic who led that diplomatic mission to Rome.
Yeah.
And just like his teacher, Panatius found himself drawn to the Roman world.
So following in Diogenes' footsteps, bringing Stoicism to the Roman elite.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
But Panatius did something quite unique.
What's that?
He became a close friend and advisor to Scipio Aemilianus. A very prominent Roman general and politician.
Okay, so a powerful guy.
A very powerful guy.
And through this connection, Panatius gained access to the highest circles of Roman society.
He did.
Wow, talk about influence.
I know.
So he wasn't just teaching Stoicism in a classroom.
No.
He was advising powerful figures who shaped the Roman Republic.
Yes, he was.
That must have presented some interesting challenges and opportunities for him. So how did Panatius reconcile Stoicism with Roman values?
Great.
Did he have to change the philosophy to make it more palatable
Your question.
to the Roman elite?
No, not exactly.
Oh.
Panetius remained true to the core principles,
Okay.
but he emphasized those aspects that resonated most strongly with Roman values.
Interesting.
So, for example, he highlighted the Stoic concept of appropriate action,
Okay.
which involves fulfilling one's duties and responsibilities to the best of one's ability.
That sounds very much in line with Roman ideas.
Yes.
Of civic duty and honor.
Very much so.
So he's kind of like weaving
in
Stoic principles
the fabric.
into the fabric of Roman society,
That's right.
finding points of connection between Greek philosophy and Roman value.
And Roman values.
Precisely. Panetius was a brilliant synthesizer,
He was.
adapting Stoicism to the Roman context without compromising
Its core
its core principles.
principles
And his influence was so significant that some scholars consider him to be the founder.
of Middle Stoicism,
Middle Stoicism, yes.
which is marked by a more pragmatic and socially engaged approach to the philosophy.
Exactly.
Wow. Panetius's teachings had a profound impact on later Roman Stoics.
They did.
Cicero,
Seneca,
even Marcus Aurelius.
big names.
It's incredible to think that this one figure,
Panetius.
Panetius, played such a pivotal role in shaping the future of Stoicism
He did.
and its integration into Roman culture.
A big influence.
It's a testament to the adaptability
Yes,
and enduring relevance of Stoicism.
it really is.
It shows that these principles can be applied across cultures and time periods, offering guidance and wisdom for navigating the challenges of human existence.
That's right.
Now, speaking of navigating challenges, let's talk about one of Panetius's students.
Okay.
Rutilius Rufus,
Rutilius Rufus.
whose life exemplified the Stoic ideal of integrity and resilience in the face of adversity.
Yes.
A good example. Rutilius Rufus was a Roman statesman, general, and historian known for his incorruptible character.
And his unwavering commitment to justice.
A good guy.
He had a distinguished career,
He did.
serving in various political and military positions, but his life took a dramatic turn
Oh.
when he was falsely accused of corruption
Oh, no.
and exiled from Rome.
That's terrible.
That sounds like a nightmare scenario.
It does.
To be unjustly accused and punished, especially after a life
Especially after a life of service.
of dedicated service.
Of the state.
How did Rutilius respond to this injustice?
Well, this is where his Stoic training really shines.
Okay.
Despite this devastating blow, Rutilius refused to be consumed by anger or resentment.
Wow.
He accepted his fate with equanimity,
Okay.
choosing to focus on what was within his control,
Which was?
his own thoughts and actions.
That must have been incredibly difficult to maintain composure and inner peace
I imagine it was.
in the face of such a betrayal.
Yeah, but he saw it as an opportunity to test and strengthen his Stoic principles.
principle.
He believed that external circumstance, even exile,
Couldn't rob him of his inner virtue.
that's right.
He chose to view this experience as a test of his character.
I like that.
That's incredibly inspiring. To find strength and meaning.
It is.
Such a challenging situation. It's a testament to the power of Stoicism to help us navigate adversity.
I think so.
Did he ever return to Rome?
So he was invited back after the death of his political rival,
Okay.
but he chose to remain in exile,
Oh, wow.
finding peace and contentment in his studies and writing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Rutilius Rufus shows us that true freedom lies not in external circumstances,
Right.
but in our own inner state.
Yes. And I think that's a really important lesson,
It is.
especially today
Yeah.
where, we're constantly bombarded with information and opinions
Oh,
that can easily sway our emotions and cloud our judgment.
It's so true.
Rutilius reminds us of the importance of staying true to ourselves,
Okay.
even when the world around us seems to be falling apart.
Powerful message. Now let's shift our focus to another remarkable Stoic figure,
Who's that?
Posidonius,
Posidonius.
whose life and work took him across geographical and intellectual boundaries.
A well-traveled man.
Posidonius was a true polymath.
What does that mean?
He was a philosopher,
Yeah.
historian, geographer, astronomer,
Oh,
and even a political advisor.
he did it all.
He traveled extensively throughout the Mediterranean world, observing different cultures,
Wow.
studying natural phenomena, and engaging with a wide range of intellectual traditions.
What a life.
Wow, a true Renaissance man of the ancient world.
He was.
His curiosity and thirst for knowledge must have been insatiable.
It must have been.
What drew him to Stoicism amidst all these other intellectual pursuits?
So Posidonius found in Stoicism a philosophical framework that could encompass his diverse interests.
Oh, wow.
And provide a guide for living a meaningful life.
Okay.
He was particularly drawn to the Stoic emphasis on understanding the interconnectedness of all things.
Interconnectedness.
In the universe.
Of all things.
From the smallest particle to the vast cosmos.
So he saw Stoicism as a lens through which to view and understand the world in all its complexity.
I think so, yes.
And his own work reflects this holistic approach.
It does.
He wrote extensively on a wide range of subjects, connecting his observations of the natural world to his insights about human nature and the cosmos.
Exactly.
What kind of impact did his unique perspective have on the development of Stoicism?
Well, he's sometimes credited with introducing a more mystical or spiritual element to Stoicism, drawing on his studies of astronomy and his belief in the divine order of the universe.
I see.
He also emphasized the importance of understanding human emotions, which would go on to influence later Stoics like Seneca.
That's interesting.
It is.
It seems like Posidonius was pushing the boundaries of Stoicism, incorporating new ideas and perspectives,
I think he was.
while remaining true to the core principles.
Yeah.
He was, and his work demonstrates the dynamism and adaptability of Stoicism.
It really does.
Its ability to evolve and encompass new knowledge, while remaining a relevant guide for living a virtuous life.
Very much so.
Now, as we continue exploring the history of Stoicism, we're going to meet a figure whose actions challenged the very ethical foundations of the philosophy.
That doesn't sound good.
Diotimus the Vicious.
Diotimus the Vicious, that's quite a name.
That's quite a name. What did he do to earn such a moniker?
So Diotimus was a Stoic philosopher who became embroiled in a bitter rivalry with the Epicurean school of thought.
Oh, the Epicureans?
The Epicureans.
As you may know, believe that pleasure is the ultimate good.
That's right.
And that the goal of life is to maximize happiness and minimize pain.
Avoid pain at all costs.
Yeah.
Very different from the Stoics.
Very different. And Diotimus, in his zeal to defend Stoicism, resorted to a rather unethical tactic.
What did he do?
Forgery.
Forgery?
He fabricated letters supposedly written by Epicurus, the founder of Epicureanism.
Oh my goodness.
To try and discredit him and his teachings.
That's a bold move.
Wow. That's a serious breach of trust, especially for a philosopher.
I agree.
Forgery seems like the antithesis of Stoic values.
It does.
Which emphasize honesty and integrity.
Absolutely.
How did this affect Diotimus's reputation and the perception of Stoicism?
Well, when his deception was exposed, it caused quite a scandal.
I bet.
It tarnished his reputation and cast a shadow over the Stoic school.
Really?
Some critics use this incident to argue that Stoicism was hypocritical.
Yeah, okay.
That its teachings about virtue were merely empty words.
So even within a philosophy that emphasizes ethical conduct, there were individuals who succumbed to temptation.
There were.
And acted in ways that contradicted their professed beliefs.
It happens.
It's a reminder that philosophy, like any human endeavor, is susceptible to flaws and imperfections.
It is.
Even those who dedicate their lives to the pursuit of wisdom and virtue can sometimes make mistakes and succumb to vice.
That's right.
It also raises an important question. How do we reconcile the high ideals of a philosophy with the realities of human behavior?
That's a good question.
That's a question that has perplexed philosophers for centuries.
Absolutely.
And there are no easy answers.
There aren't.
But Diotimus' story serves as a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Reminding us that the pursuit of virtue is an ongoing process. And that we must be constantly vigilant against the temptations that can lead us astray.
It's an ongoing battle.
It's a humbling thought.
It is.
But an important one.
It is.
We all have the potential for both good and bad.
We do.
And it's up to each of us to choose the path of virtue.
I agree.
And strive to live in accordance with our highest ideals.
Well said.
Now let's shift our focus to a figure who, despite his deep admiration for Stoicism, ultimately struggled to fully embody its principles in his own life. Cicero. The renowned Roman statesman.
Yes, orator.
Considered one of the greatest minds of Roman antiquity.
He was.
But his life was also marked by ambition, political maneuvering, and ultimately tragedy.
Oh, yes.
How did Stoicism influence his life and work?
Well, Cicero was deeply drawn to Stoicism. Particularly its emphasis on virtue, reason, and civic duty. He found in Stoicism a philosophical framework that aligned with his own values and aspirations. However, Cicero also lived in a turbulent era
of
Roman history, a time of political upheaval and civil war.
Not a fun time to be alive.
It wasn't.
And in those tumultuous times, he sometimes made choices that contradicted
his Stoic ideals.
So he admired Stoicism and its teachings.
He did.
But he struggled to live up to those ideals.
In the real world.
In the real world of Roman politics.
Yeah.
It sounds like a dilemma that many of us face, even today.
It does.
Trying to balance our own ambitions with our ethical principles.
How did this tension play out in Cicero's life?
Well, there were times when Cicero acted with great courage and integrity.
Speaking out against corruption and defending the principles of the Roman Republic.
Yeah.
But there were also times when he compromised those principles. For the sake of political expediency or personal gain.
It's a reminder that even the most brilliant minds can be swayed by the temptations of power and ambition.
It's hard to resist.
It is, isn't it?
Especially in those circumstances.
And that living a virtuous life requires constant vigilance. And a willingness to challenge our own motivations.
Our own motivations.
Absolutely. And Cicero's life, with all its complexity and contradictions, provides us with valuable insights into the challenges of applying philosophical principles in the real world.
It does.
Now, in contrast to Cicero's sometimes wavering commitment to Stoicism, we encounter a figure who has become an iconic symbol of Stoic virtue and unwavering integrity.
Who's that?
Cato the Younger.
Ah, Cato.
A descendant of Cato the Elder, the Roman statesman who famously opposed the Greek philosophers
who visited
Rome.
But
unlike his ancestor Cato, the Younger embraced Stoicism.
Embraced it.
Finding in its teachings a guide for living a life of principle and purpose.
I like that.
So a Stoic legacy passed down through generations, but with a twist. What kind of person was Cato the Younger, and how did his Stoicism manifest in his life and actions?
So Cato was known for his austerity, his incorruptible character, and his unflinching opposition to corruption and tyranny.
Sounds like a tough guy.
He was. He was a staunch defender of the Roman Republic. And a fierce critic of Julius Caesar. Whom he saw as a threat to Roman liberty.
So he was a man of principle.
Absolutely.
Willing to stand up for his beliefs, even when it meant going against powerful figures.
Like Julius Caesar.
That must have taken incredible courage. And Cato's unwavering integrity ultimately cost him his life.
Oh, no. How?
When Caesar's forces defeated the Pompeian army, with whom Cato was allied, Cato chose to take his own life rather than live under Caesar's rule. Wow, that's a powerful statement.
It is.
To choose death over compromising one's principles.
It really is a testament to the depth of his commitment.
Wow.
And his belief in the importance of living a virtuous life, even in the face of overwhelming odds.
His suicide became a symbol of resistance to tyranny. And an inspiration for later generations of Stoics.
Absolutely.
It showed the world that true freedom lies not in external circumstances, but in our own inner state.
That's right.
In our ability to choose virtue and integrity, even when it costs us everything.
A powerful message.
His story is incredibly moving and thought-provoking.
It is.
It challenges us to consider the limits of compromise. And the importance of staying true to our values, even when faced with difficult choices.
Well said.
Absolutely. And as we continue exploring the lives of these Stoic figures, we'll see how their examples can guide us. In navigating the complexities of our own lives and in striving to live in accordance with our highest ideals.
I like that.
This has been an incredible journey so far.
It has.
I'm learning so much about the evolution of Stoicism and its enduring relevance.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
I can't wait to hear what other insights we'll uncover.
Me too.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I have to say, exploring the lives of these Stoic figures has been eye-opening. It's fascinating to see how they applied these ancient philosophical principles to the very real challenges of their time, from political turmoil to personal betrayals.
Yeah, it's a testament to the enduring power of Stoicism.
It is.
That these ideas continue to resonate with us today, centuries later. You know, we might not be facing Roman emperors or gladiatorial combat, but the core challenges of human existence, dealing with adversity, making difficult choices, finding meaning and purpose, those are timeless.
Absolutely, and I think that's why exploring Stoicism through the lives of these figures is so compelling. It makes it feel more tangible.
More real.
More relatable. So as we delve into this final chapter of our deep dive.
Right.
I'm curious to see what other insights we can glean from these ancient thinkers.
I'm excited to share them with you.
Okay.
Let's start with a figure whose life embodies the culmination of Stoicism's influence on Roman leadership.
Okay.
Marcus Aurelius.
Marcus Aurelius, often hailed as the philosopher king.
That's right.
He sought to rule with wisdom, justice, and compassion, guided by the principles he'd learned from his Stoic mentors. Marcus Aurelius is one of those figures
Larger than life.
that looms large in history, almost mythical in his stature.
Yeah.
But what I find particularly fascinating is that we have access to his personal reflections
Through his writing.
through his writings.
Meditations.
Meditations are remarkable work. It's a collection of private thoughts, aphorisms, reminders to himself, written not for public consumption, but for his own self-improvement.
It's like we're peeking into his diary.
It's like we're peeking into his diary,
Yeah.
which I love. It gives us a glimpse into the mind of an emperor,
An emperor.
wrestling with the burdens of leadership
Yeah.
and the challenges of living a virtuous life in a world full of temptations and distractions.
So much responsibility.
It really humanizes him, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We see that even an emperor, a man with immense power and responsibility, struggled with self-doubt, anxieties,
That makes him relatable.
the desire to live up to his ideals.
He was human after all.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes Marcus Aurelius' story so inspiring. He wasn't some perfect, untouchable figure.
Right.
He was a human being who strived to apply Stoic principles to every aspect of his life, from his personal conduct to his leadership of the Roman Empire.
I agree.
And his reign wasn't some idyllic period of peace and prosperity, was it?
No.
He faced wars,
Plagues.
internal rebellions, and even a betrayal by his own son Commodus.
Oh, yes. Commodus. Not a good guy.
Not a good guy.
His reign was marked by challenges
Yeah,
and adversity.
but throughout it all,
Marcus Aurelius.
Marcus Aurelius remained steadfast in his commitment to virtue, duty, and service.
He was a good emperor.
He saw his role as emperor not as an opportunity for personal gain,
Right.
but as a responsibility to use his power for the good of the people. There are so many stories about Marcus Aurelius that illustrate his character.
Oh, tell me one.
I love the one about him selling off imperial possessions to replenish the treasury during a time of financial hardship.
Oh, wow.
And he even offered to return the purchase price to those who voluntarily returned the items after the crisis had passed.
What a guy. It's a testament to his humility
Yes,
and his understanding that true wealth lies not in material possessions,
right.
but in virtue and a clear conscience.
His stoicism is evident
In his response,
in his response to personal betrayals, particularly the conspiracy led by his son Commodus.
tough one.
That must have been incredibly painful for him to be betrayed by his own son, whom he'd hoped would succeed him as emperor.
It was a devastating blow.
It was.
Yet even in the face of this betrayal, Marcus Aurelius refused to succumb to anger.
Or resentment.
He chose to forgive Commodus,
What?
urging those around him to show mercy.
His capacity for forgiveness is truly remarkable.
It is.
It's a testament to the power of stoicism
Yes.
to help us transcend even the most painful experiences and to choose compassion over bitterness.
It's not easy to do,
It's not.
but he did it.
Marcus Aurelius understood that holding on to anger and resentment would only poison his own soul.
It is true.
He chose to respond to adversity with wisdom and grace, recognizing that true freedom lies not in seeking revenge, but in letting go of negativity and choosing to focus on what is within our control, our own thoughts and actions.
Wise.
His life is a powerful example of how Stoic principles can guide us in navigating even the most difficult challenges, from personal betrayals to the burdens of leadership.
I think so too.
And it's a reminder that Stoicism is not just a philosophy for emperors and statesmen. It's a set of principles that can benefit everyone,
Everyone.
regardless of their station in life. It's about cultivating a mindset of resilience, inner peace, no matter what circumstances we face.
Well said.
Now, amidst all these stories of Stoic figures navigating the complexities of power,
Yeah.
there's another figure whose journey highlights the enduring relevance of Stoicism,
Refer.
everyday life.
Okay, who's that?
Epictetus,
Epictetus.
the former slave who found true liberation through Stoic philosophy.
Yes.
His teachings have resonated with people throughout history,
They have?
offering a path to inner freedom that is available to everyone,
Everyone.
regardless of their external circumstances.
It's true.
It's a remarkable story to go from being a slave to becoming one of the most influential Stoic philosophers of all time.
It's inspiring.
There's a real power in his teachings.
Yeah.
A kind of raw honesty that comes from lived experience.
Absolutely.
His experience as a slave profoundly shaped his philosophical outlook. He understood, perhaps more than any other Stoic, the importance of focusing on what we can control.
Our thoughts,
judgments, and actions, and accepting what we cannot control.
Things outside of ourselves.
External events, circumstances beyond our influence.
He really emphasized that.
He did.
This is where his concept of the dichotomy of control comes in.
Yes, the idea that our true freedom lies in recognizing this distinction.
Right.
And focusing our energy on what is within our power.
Exactly.
Epictetus taught that we can't always control what happens to us.
True.
But we can always control how we respond.
How we respond. That's key.
We can choose to react with anger, fear, resentment, or we can choose to respond with reason, composure, and acceptance.
Big difference.
It's a simple idea.
Simple, but
incredibly powerful.
No, powerful.
It's so easy to get caught up in worrying about things we can't change.
It is, but
Epictetus reminds us that our true power lies in mastering our own minds.
Well said.
And he didn't just talk the talk.
He walked the walk.
He walked the walk. Despite being born into slavery and later exiled from Rome,
he never gave up.
Epictetus never allowed his external circumstances to define him. He found freedom and fulfillment in the pursuit of virtue and wisdom, teaching and inspiring others to do the same.
He was a great teacher.
And his teachings have resonated with people
throughout
history.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of James Stockdale.
James Stockdale.
The American pilot who was held captive in Vietnam for 7 years.
7 years.
He credited Epictetus's philosophy
with
helping him endure that ordeal.
That was amazing.
Stockdale said that as he parachuted down from his downed plane, he realized he was leaving the world of technology and entering the world of Epictetus. He understood that his survival depended not on external circumstances, but on his own internal state, on his ability to control his thoughts and emotions, even in the most dire circumstances.
So powerful.
An incredible example
of Epictetus's philosophy in action.
Yeah, and it shows us that Stoicism is not just an abstract set of ideas, but a practical guide for living, a way to find strength, resilience, and even freedom in the face of adversity. Absolutely. And as we conclude our exploration of Stoicism through its most influential figures, I think it's worth reflecting on what we can take away from their stories and apply to our own lives.
I agree.
We've encountered such a diverse cast of characters.
We have.
Merchants, diplomats, emperors, slaves, playwrights, advisors, each navigating the complexities of their time and striving to live in accordance with Stoic principles.
They really did.
What are some key insights that stand out to you?
Well, I think one of the most powerful lessons is the importance of focusing on what we can control. Like Epictetus taught, our true freedom lies in recognizing the distinction between what's within our power and what's not, and focusing our energy on those things we can influence. Our own thoughts, judgments, and actions.
That resonates with me. It's so easy to get caught up in worrying about things outside of our control.
The news,
the opinions of others, events beyond our influence.
It's easy to get swept up in that.
But Stoicism reminds us that our true power lies in mastering our own minds.
Yes.
In choosing how we respond to the world around us.
Well said. Another key takeaway is the importance of virtue as a guiding principle in life. The Stoics believe that virtue is the only true good, and that everything else, wealth, status, power, is ultimately indifferent.
Interesting.
By focusing on developing virtues like wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, we can live a life of meaning and purpose regardless of our external circumstances.
It's a challenge to live up to those ideals.
It is.
But the Stoics provide us with practical tools and inspiring examples to guide us on that path. They show us that it's possible to face adversity with resilience, to make difficult choices with integrity, and to find meaning and purpose even in the midst of suffering.
I agree. Their stories remind us that the pursuit of virtue is an ongoing journey, not a destination. We'll stumble along the way, make mistakes, face challenges that test our resolve. But by embracing the Stoic principles of reason, virtue, and acceptance, we can navigate life's complexities with greater wisdom and grace.
This deep dive has been truly inspiring.
It has.
I'm feeling motivated to revisit the works of these Stoic thinkers.
Yeah.
And see what other nuggets of wisdom I can unearth.
I think you'll find many.
Their insights are timeless
They are?
and offer valuable guidance for anyone seeking to live a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
I agree.
Well said.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through the history of Stoicism.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've enjoyed exploring the lives and teachings of these fascinating figures, and we encourage you to continue delving into the world of Stoicism.
There's so much to learn.
You might be surprised by what you discover about yourself and the world around you.